Welcome to today's Friday Forum at the City Club of Cleveland. My name is Ralph Delarada. I have the distinct pleasure of being your president this year. The City Club of Cleveland was originally established back in 1912. It was established to encourage new ideas and a free exchange of thought. We are the oldest continuous speaking forum in the United States. We also have a long and storied tradition of free speech exercised through public debate and discussion. Today, the City Club is an organization where its diverse members participate in wide-ranging, high-quality forums, as well as enjoying great camaraderie. We are a civic center where the Cleveland community comes together each week to encounter and challenge important ideas. And lastly, we're an electronic forum that's not only open to this country, but to the world as a whole. In these turbulent economic times, many feel our recession will be highly influenced by the course of one of our most important sectors, perhaps some say our most important sector, the automotive sector. The automobile supply chain is indeed far-reaching in the U.S. economy, as well as worldwide. Our speaker today, William J. Holstein, is well-versed and is very outspoken on his views on this vital industry. Mr. Holstein has been critical of the Obama administration's dealings with GM, including its decision to demand that Rick Wagner, my classmate from college actually, resign as chairman and chief executive officer of the company. Holstein has also described Republican Senator Richard Shelby and others as acting against the national interest for unfairly backing foreign auto companies. He has stated that foreign transplant factories in Shelby's jurisdiction are being given undue, selfishly motivated preferential treatment at the expense of American companies. Mr. Holstein released his latest book in February 2009 entitled Why GM Matters: Inside the Race to Transform an American Icon. In his work, he argues why GM deserves the chance to turn itself around rather than to be forced to declare bankruptcy before the transformation is complete. Mr. Holstein is an author, writer, and magazine editor, has spent his life analyzing the domestic and international business world. He has spent 30 years specializing in global business and in issues that affect chief executive officers and board of directors, and is widely known for his ideas on innovation, competitiveness, and corporate governance. In addition to his most recent work, Mr. Holstein wrote Memo to the CEO, Manage the Media, Don't let the media manage you, in parentheses, as well as The Japanese Power Game. Bill has covered the American economy and the auto industry as a senior writer for U.S. News and World Report. He has also written for other major publications, including United Press International, Business Week, The New York Times, and Fortune magazine, to name a few. He has served as editor of Directorship Magazine, Chief Executive Magazine, Business 2.0, and Business Week. Prior to spending 10 years at Business Week, Mr. Holstein was Director of Corporate Writing at American Express. Bill serves on several boards of directors, including Overseas Press Club, the Correspondence Fund, the International Motor Press Association. He is also president of the OPC Foundation. He is a National Merit Scholar who graduated with honors from Michigan State University, majoring in European intellectual history. He has also studied abroad at Oxford University. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a true honor to introduce this talented editor, author, and thought leader. Please join me in welcoming Bill Holstein to the City Club of Cleveland.
Thanks very much. So I must always start by telling people I'm not one of those New Yorkers who've come in here to tell you how the world operates from New York. I lived in Louisville, Kentucky, went to high school there, went to Michigan State, started my career there. In fact, even further back than that, I was born in West Virginia, but spent the first 8 years of my life here in this area. My father worked for B.F. Goodrich in the chemical division, so we lived in Parma Heights, Euclid in the Cleveland area, and then Wadsworth near Akron. So I spent 8 years, I have vivid memories of walking to first grade in snow about this high. So. Well, I think we're at one of the most decisive moments in the history of the American government's relationship to the industrial economy, the American industrial economy. I think this is a profoundly dramatic moment, and I'll get to why. I'm going to explain why. Let me start by the backdrop. What I did in this book was I dug into how Rick Wagner has tried to transform General Motors. Clearly the company struggled. Clearly the company made a lot of bad decisions in the 70s and 80s. But in response to Toyota, they eventually began to put a plan in place. And Rick Wagner really was the point guy after Jack Smith in changing the whole management structure of General Motors, try to create a centralized management structure, trying to absorb the Toyota lean manufacturing methodology, which the company has done. The plants in Lansing are among the world's most sophisticated. They've taken the Toyota system and improved upon it. So those of you who are in the manufacturing sector, it's a remarkable industrial transformation, what they've done. They've been operating the 747 while they changed the engine. It's a remarkable thing. Wagner brought in Bob Lutz in 2001 and opened up the valves of the design capabilities in a way that hadn't happened in a couple of decades. For a couple of decades, the engineers and financial people had run the design function, and as a result, the vehicles were not very attractive. But Lutz has changed that, and Cadillac, Saturn, even the Pontiac G8 is a hot-looking car. I mean, they've got hot-looking cars on the road. Malibu, I think they've leapfrogged Toyota in design. They've innovated. They have the OnStar system is really quite remarkable effort to match up the automobile with the world of satellites and cell phone communications. The whole industry, of course, tried to find that right interface, and BMW made a mistake with their iDrive, for example. 200 functions concealed in a knob here in the center of the two seats. General Motors wisely went for the three-button approach, where the real complexity is hidden from the driver. You keep your eyes on the road and hands on the wheel and can operate the system. So they brought the huge capacity of satellite and cell phones to the car that way. Lithium-ion battery is, if you believe that America needs new green industries, General Motors is at the forefront of helping the United States get a piece of the lithium-ion battery business. The Chevy Volt, scheduled to come out next year, is an attempt to leapfrog Prius, attempt to leapfrog Toyota's product, which is a nickel metal hydride battery. And so General Motors has invested $1 billion in this. They are working with LG Chem, a Korean company, but the battery cells are going to be assembled in the shadow in Flint, Michigan. If any of you have been to Flint, you know that it's a very symbol of the decades of failure at General Motors. So here the Phoenix is attempting to rise from the ashes in Flint, Michigan. Rick Wagner also globalized the General Motors in a way that not many people understand. They used to have a series of rather discrete entities. GM do Brazil was operated separately from GM Europe, and Opel and Holstein in Australia operated independently largely. As long as they made their numbers, they pretty much did their business their way. Wagner knit the company together in a coherent whole where design and engineering and procurement and all those very complex functions were centralized in a dramatic way. He transformed and was in the process of transforming General Motors. You can imagine, as I was writing this book in 2008, I delivered it initially in October and thought, well, this is pretty good. But then all hell broke loose in the economy, and so obviously everything was torn up. And I had then obviously to do a lot of rewriting, which I was able to do through December. The book came out in February. So, but as a result of doing all this research and doing all the talking that I've done, there are the myths that keep getting thrown up against at me and in the media I see. One is that GM doesn't make cars Americans want.